Hi guys, good afternoon. Welcome to the SENsible SENCO. This afternoon I have for you a review of a book about exclusions. It is called The School Exclusions, the Parent Guide, and it was written by Abigail Hawkins. Yes, it was written by me.
Hi, good afternoon. So my husband constantly moans at me because I do reviews of everybody else's things and I never actually review my own things. I'm a published author. I have written a few books, a couple of them to do with being a SENCO, which I'm sure I'll review at some point, but actually this one was requested by a group of parents on Facebook who said they don't understand school exclusions, and I kept answering their questions for them. They said, please could I produce them a guide? So I actually went away, and it's quite a thick book. I'm not sure how many pages it was, 207 pages. I went away and I wrote them a school exclusions guide, and that's why it's called the Parent Guide. However, it isn't just for parents. I am a school governor. I'm actually a chair of governors, and I use it as a reference guide in my governance role. And I have had several SENCOs speak to me and say, I didn't know some of these things, thank you for pointing them out, and a couple of head teachers who've also said the same thing. Not quite that they didn't know them, but it was nice to have clarity in front of them. So I thought I'd take you through a couple of bits and pieces in this book. Any of the illustrations, I have to say, I didn't draw them, I'm sorry, but they are royalty free, so I have borrowed them from genuine sources. I wish I could draw that well. So, like I said, it's quite a big book, quite a hefty book. I did spend quite some time writing it. These sections here are actually breaking down the official guidance, and the official guidance is found in the back of the book. So wherever I've gone. So the law itself is page 151, and from page 156 to page 205 is actually the DFE guidance that is given to schools. There's then a bibliography and an index. However, what I've done is gone through that exclusion from maintained schools, academies and pupil referral units and broken it down into what I call everyday speak. So language that people can understand without having to go and get a dictionary out or go and refer to another book to actually understand what's going on. So I have got a preface or preface, whatever you want to call it, at the front of the book, and I do use two names throughout the book because it's so difficult to write without actually naming a child sometimes. So I picked on my maternal grandparents, Tom and Nell, and they are named throughout the book. I felt that I was in a suitable place to write this book because I have dealt with exclusions. I've never been a head teacher, and actually the head teacher is the only person in a school who is allowed to exclude. However, I have been involved in that process, and I've also been involved in trying to prevent exclusions, and actually I think that was quite a major part of my SENCO role. So flicking through, anybody who knows me will know I have got a very, 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 very dry sense of humour. So if you're expecting to pick this book up and have lots of history thrown at you and facts and figures and waffle that is of no use to you whatsoever apart from padding out 20 minutes of a reading of a book or 20 minutes of a video, then I'm sorry, you're going to be disappointed because I just don't do it. I get straight to the point, I'm afraid, and I have an opinion. Everybody is entitled to an opinion, and I have one. I don't entirely disagree with exclusions. I think they have their place. I disagree with exclusions when they are not used correctly. So I do use my humour, if you wish, through the book. I use it in the way I write, and lots of people tell me I write the same way as I talk, and I'm a bit like sitting having a cup of coffee with somebody when you're sat reading my books. Anyway, there's a bit of a breakdown there of some acronyms that parents felt they didn't understand. I did make a decision that there were some that they would understand, but most of those there they said they struggled with, and we talk about judicial reviews and first-tier tribunals. Simpsons again borrowed from the internet, but they are royalty free. So each section takes them through different bits. This here was a wonderful rabbit warren. I spent hours and hours in this. It's a website that takes you through the exclusion data. It's now a year out of date, of course, because most things are in education. But it took us through some fantastic figures, which I found absolutely fascinating. And there's some brilliant pictures and graphs and diagrams in there as well. So that was fun, but I did disappear into there for several hours. And again, we've got that breaking down. So it starts off with explaining what an exclusion is, and you would be surprised how many people don't actually understand what an exclusion is. And the fact that a school has to have a behaviour policy, and that's the only thing they can use when applying an exclusion. I am flicking through quite a few of the pages for you. That doesn't mean you can't go and buy it. If you're interested, please go and buy a copy. This page here makes it very, very clear that only a head teacher can actually authorise an exclusion, or their nominated deputy in their absence. So I worked in a school once where we had a head of behaviour. And it used to be that person who would deliver the message to parents to say, your child has been excluded. But actually it's not that person who has made that decision. It was the head teacher, and they're simply the person conveying that information. And I think that gets confused a lot of the time. So parents might complain that my child's been excluded, I'm going to go and complain to the head teacher. Well, actually, it's the head teacher that has made that decision in the first place. And I'm not going to go through the whole book, but you can see there's plenty here of nice meaty information, I suppose, of different things that are happening. I did include, because I found it quite difficult to follow and to understand, I included a couple of tables in the back here because there are different types of appeals. And you can only appeal on certain grounds, but when you do appeal, you appeal against different criteria. And what I did was I've taken those criteria and the advice from a variety of different legal sources to actually produce a couple of tables that explain what can be done and what is looked for, what parents need to prepare, and if you are a governor, what you need to prepare. It also talks about the role of an SEN expert. As SENCOs, we shouldn't really be the SEN expert in this. However, we could be asked to attend an appeal, especially to governors, to explain what reasonable adjustments have been used or not used. There are sometimes justifiable reasons why certain reasonable adjustments haven't been put in place. Like I say, I am down to earth and on the ground, and there is a parental responsibility in here. Not everything is down to schools to deal with, and although this is a book written for parents, I am quite clear that they have their own role in there as well. This page here, not in school during an exclusion, or not in public during an exclusion. So it makes me laugh on Facebook because there's this wonderful line that is included in an exclusions letter that says your child must not be seen in public whilst they are serving their exclusion. And I have to explain to parents that it's common sense. It basically means they can't send their child to the corner shop to go and do the shopping for them during the school day when they should normally be in school. However, if they need to go to the doctors, or they've got an appointment to go to, or they need to go and do the shopping themselves and they're taking the child with them, that is absolutely fine. They are being supervised. We've got absences, and yes, it is an absence, and yes, you may not agree with it, however, it is an absence. End of. Not going to get into the argument. It's an absence. It's an authorised absence, but it's an absence. Public spaces, different perspectives, national view, the student perspective, the parent perspective, the school perspective, professionals. I can write more for the school. The future, because some parents and some schools feel that a child has been written off when they've had an exclusion, and it isn't that at all. However, for some students, they might feel they just can't come back from it. And like I say, me and controversy, well, I just wrote it all down, so you know, you might not agree with me. However, here are my points. This is what I'd like to say about it. So I gave myself 2 pages. I followed the same format of writing this book as a book by Nettleton and Friel, which is SEN and the Legal Framework, and it's a book I absolutely adore. And they had in the back of theirs some almost frequently asked questions, so some questions and then some answers underneath it. So I asked those Facebook parents, what do you want to know? And I'm not going to answer it for you, but what do you want to know? And they sent me a list of questions, and they are the ones that I have either answered in the back of here, or I have signposted them to where that answer is within the book. And like I say, towards the back here, I gave a couple of examples as well, real life case studies and examples, and some help pages where they can go for further assistance. So in the appendix, and it is shrunk down very, very small, there are some sample letters that might be sent out. This is the actual law itself. So as most people know, anything that we get in education isn't usually the law, it's somebody's interpretation of the law, either as a code of practice or as a document from the DFE explaining things. So there's the law part of it, and then this is the document from the DFE that says what it is that schools should be doing, and in this case it refers to maintained schools, academies and pupil referral units. That means that when the school says, well, we're an academy, we can do what we want, the answer is no, you can't. You should be following this guidance unless you have good reason not to, and good luck trying to find that good reason not to. And again, I am allowed to include that in the book because it's something called the Creative Commons license, which allows me to republish something in public interest actually within the document. So it goes all the way through, and then towards the back here, whoop, I will get there eventually, there's the footnotes. So there's a bit of a bibliography there. I did do some reading around this. I do have to recommend Jackie's book on the fringes. Jackie's book is very much how to avoid exclusions. This book isn't about how to avoid an exclusion, that's why it's written for parents. It's what happens when they've been excluded. Jackie's book is more about how to avoid the exclusions in the first place, and it's a really, really good read. Might do a review on that at some point. And of course I've got an index at the back, and that was a learning curve, learning how to create one of those. And there's the blurb on the back page if you're interested. So this book is on Amazon. I do believe it is on there for $15.99 at the moment. It might be $17.99. Pretty sure it's still $15.99. And like I say, it's been very, very popular with parents, and I've certainly had a couple of head teachers buy a copy to keep in their office, and a few SENCOs who've also expressed an interest. Hi.
try and play your video twice. So I hope you enjoyed watching that video. I did cut it off towards the end because I did actually start to waffle a little bit and thought I'd better stop. So thank you very much for watching it. If you liked it, please click like and subscribe. I have a goal of 1,000 subscribers, and even if you don't want to watch another one of my videos, I'd really appreciate it if you clicked subscribe, and then you can ignore me in the future. And don't forget to watch the other videos in the SENsible SENCO series. If you're wondering what else is in that series, then there are some videos on knowing their needs, so looking at different needs of students and meeting their needs within the classrooms. And I'm about to log off the computer and upload this one to YouTube, and once I've done that, I'm going to record the voiceover for a video on governance and how governors and SENCOs need to work together. And I have a number of my videos already out there, and there's a couple there about the SEN register and about taking over the SENCO role. And these are about 40 of the 120 or so videos that I have in the pipeline. As always, guys, take care. Bye bye.